Hello, this is Jerry Morton. Welcome to my Finding My Way podcast. This is podcast number 18, titled Which One? Which One is a story from my adult years. The collection of stories I have written and am reading to you cover many subcultures in our country that I have interacted with from childhood to my adult and senior years. A more extensive introduction to the Finding My Way stories takes place in the beginning of Podcast 1. Regardless of which podcast you are listening to, you will find the story both entertaining and worthy of your reflective thoughts concerning its contents. The stories, as a collection, provide insights into a span of time that has played a role in shaping American culture and influencing its future. The stories provide you with a sense of admiration for the culture's collective courage in our country's commitment to justice and its optimistic willingness to address new challenges. Which one? As I have stated before, the last year of graduate school was stressful. This was the 1972-73 school year. While it was highly successful, there was never time to enjoy any of the success, as the next challenge was right before me. For inspiration and relaxation, I continued to read the Edgar Cayce material. This instilled a desire to explore the world of psychic phenomena. Since I had determined that the psychic I saw the summer before launching into my second and final year of graduate school had not made a single successful prediction at the time, she had been dropped from my conscious awareness. That year it never occurred to me to visit her again. Every Friday afternoon I drove by a house where a large sign in the yard announced that Madame Sophia gave psychic readings. The house was on the 4-lane highway I drove to do the week's grocery shopping for our family. I was tempted to pull into her driveway on numerous occasions, but would change my mind for a multitude of reasons. However, the chief reason was that I was embarrassed to go there. I had always assumed that such people with their signs and pictures of a crystal ball with a gypsy woman looking into it were just a carnival show. This was a business for taking people's money, for simply making up some tall story about them. Since her home place of business was right on the edge of a major 4-lane highway, all the passing traffic saw any car parked in front of her house. If I pulled into her lot, my classmates, my professors, my neighbors, and everyone else would know that I was there seeing Madame Sophia. They would know I was a fool, throwing away my family's money. Time and again I would drive by Madame Sophia's big sign and wonder, what if she were real? Maybe it wouldn't be as I suspected. Maybe she wasn't a fraud. A lot of people treated Edgar Cayce as a fraud. I had read in some of the Cayce Foundation material that way back when, the American Medical Association brought legal charges against him for practicing medicine without a license. After investigating some of his trance-state readings, in which medical remedies were recommended, and finding out what happened to the person given those remedies, the AMA dropped its charges. Instead of pursuing the charges, the AMA listed Cayce as a medical consultant, the materials had stated. Maybe Madame Sophia was like that. Maybe it was just my long-established prejudices that kept me from investigating Madame Sophia. Wasn't I supposed to be a supporter of the scientific approach? You have to be open to whatever the data presents to you. You can't predetermine the outcome of something without observing, collecting the observed data, and objectively analyzing that data to determine the truth of something. How would we ever learn anything new if we just relied on our personal prejudices to make a determination of what is true or not true. My inner dialogue continued for some months along those lines as I routinely passed Madame Sophia's place. While out in the car one Saturday morning with a little time to spare, I approached Madame Sophia's sign. Gritting my teeth, I turned the steering wheel and drove into the graveled parking area in front of her house. I backed the car up to the house. That way, I thought, no one would see my license plate. Someone who knew me might not recognize the car if they didn't see the license plate. I really felt awkward walking up to her door. This was a fool's errand, I thought, as I knocked. When the door opened, I was standing face to face with a very young-looking woman. Madame Sophia? I hesitantly asked. Yes, she said with a pleasant smile on her face. Well, I'd like a reading or a palm reading or whatever it is that you do. Please come in. I entered the little hallway that led to a large living room. Behind the living room was the kitchen area. Off to the right was a hallway that I assumed led to bedrooms. As Madame Sophia led me to the living room, I reflected that I had expected Madame Sophia to be in her 40s or 50s. This Madame Sophia looked like a college student or younger. Well, I thought to myself, you just learn about your ingrained prejudices every day. Please sit down, she motioned to the couch. As I sat, she sat down beside me. With the two of us sitting side by side, she turned her head and part of her body towards me. One palm reading is $5. Reading both palms is $10. And in-depth analysis is $25. Which of these would you like? I had forgotten that there would be a fee for this. Of course there would be a fee. Why hadn't I planned for a fee? Well, it was an unplanned stop. I hadn't planned anything. I was operating on impulse. This is embarrassing. I don't think I have $5 on me. How much do you have? Standing up to pull out my wallet from my pants pocket, I pulled out $3. She could see it was all the paper money I had in it. Then, reaching into my front pocket, I pulled out the change I had. Sitting back down on the couch, I counted out $1.37. Self-consciously laughing, I held out the money and stated, $4.37. That will be all right. I'll give you a palm reading. She held out her two hands, and I placed my right hand palm up in them. She proceeded to tell me what the lines in the palm meant. She went into considerable detail about the meaning of several lines in my hand. You are experiencing a lot of resistance to what you want to accomplish. I studiously resisted saying yes or displaying any facial or body clues to her that she was right. I was aware of the massive amount of nonverbal communication we all display and read from others. Reading nonverbal messages sent by someone was how so-called psychics could determine if their statements about you were accurate or not. I wasn't going to provide her with the nonverbal or verbal clues as to the accuracy of her comments to me. You will overcome this resistance, but it will take a long time without help. Suddenly, the front door burst open. Both Madame Sophia and I involuntarily flinched with the abrupt opening. In walked this 40-plus woman carrying 2 bags of groceries. She walked into the open passageway beside the living room leading into the kitchen. As she walked past the two of us, me with my hand, palm up, being held in the young woman's 2 hands, Her look of surprise at seeing us quickly transformed into a smile as she looked into the girl's eyes. Without a word, the obviously real Madame Sophia walked into the kitchen and began putting the groceries away. I knew I had been had. What a fool I was. Pulling my hand from Madame Sophia's daughter's two hands, I asked, "What kind of help are you talking about?" "We can light candles for you and pray once a week for half an hour. It will cost you $10 for each half-hour prayer. You will need us to do this for several months." Getting up from the couch and backing towards the door, I commented, I'll have to talk it over with my wife. That's a little costly for us right now." She kept pace with my backing to the door. "I'm sure we can work something out." At that moment, my back hit the side wall of the little hallway. Immediately, a framed picture fell off the wall, wedging itself between the wall and the back of my leg. Bending over to pick it up, I apologized profusely. The glass in the frame had a big crack in it. "That's all right. Don't worry about it," she said as she took the picture from my hand. My back hit the door. I turned to open it, still expressing my regret at breaking the glass, with the girl reassuring me that it was all right. Outside the door, I said my final goodbye, and she responded with the same. Driving back home, I had to laugh at myself. I had suspected that it would be foolish for me to stop to check out Madame Sophia. As I pulled into the gravel driveway of Madame Sophia, I had thought that I was being very foolish. Having the young Madame Sophia hold my hand reading my palm made me feel even more foolish. Then, when the real Madame Sophia so dramatically entered the house, I knew I had been and was being foolish. Knocking the picture off of the wall as I was leaving the house proved how foolish I was. Driving down the highway gave me such a sense of relief. It's good to be foolish every once in a while. You don't have to pretend you're not being foolish when in the process of being foolish. It's such a relief.